Hi there. It's Nick Dutch, back on the camera again one more time for another delightful tarot show. That's right, on this YouTube channel, Nick Dutch Tarot, what I do is tarot readings for you, the audience. What you can do is you can submit a request via private message, not in the comment section. I'm very happy for you to leave comments on the videos, that's perfectly alright, okay? But don't leave your request for readings in the comment section, otherwise I lose track. It's always good for me to build up a bit of a backlog each week so that I can just plough through them. And even if there are some which basically haven't been done on that particular week, then I'll have more which can be done the next week. Giving me a backlog through, giving me loads of lovely requests is always very, very good for this particular tarot show. Now, a lot of you know I do this for a living. It's my full-time job. Legally speaking, a tarot reading is an entertainment service, okay? But lots of people do actually, they claim to get a lot of benefit in a kind of a therapeutic sense through having a reading, looking at other people's readings that have been done, and just getting a bit of a feeling for what, the whole conversation is about. You can find out a lot more about yourself, you can find out a lot more about other people's problems and issues, and indeed a lot of the things which can basically happen in a reading session. So you get a feeling as to what it would be like if you were to give me a call. Now, I do a lot of work on Keen.com and Live Person, and of late there have been some people who have been viewing my free tarot reading shows and thinking that, oh, that means I can get a free reading on Keen or Live Person. Well, I've just got to quickly point this out, just very, very quickly. Those are companies. Alright, and I'm not allowed to give anything away for free via the company, okay? It's just not really allowed, unfortunately. So make sure that if you want to submit a request, submit it to this YouTube channel, Nick Dutch Tarot, okay? And just by private message. So what we'll do is we'll crack on with the first one. We've got a bit of a backlog to go through, and we'll just see what happens, okay? Oh yeah, one more thing, very quickly. I've started to do a bit more text blogging on my Keen.com account. So once in a while I'm just going to submit a link through on this channel, and if you've made friends with this channel, then essentially you may get that coming up on your activity when you log into YouTube, okay? And then that'll just give you a little link, it'll take you to the blog, and you can find out what I'm talking about at that particular time. So, do make friends with the channel, and then there'll be loads of lovely things for you to see, as well as, of course, subscribing, favoriting, sharing, and all the rest of that, okay? On with the first one. Okay, well, the first inquiry isn't actually a tarot reading. Okay, here's me shuffling thoroughly, and I don't even get a proper tarot reading request. But that's not really a serious issue. See, this is a very interesting question. This is from Mariazus, I think is the correct pronunciation, Mariazus 3. And this is someone who is getting precognitive dreams and visions, and wants to try and understand them, and basically control them. Now, funnily enough, that's how I really got started. Okay, I had other experiences when I was young, seeing ghosts and the rest of it, but in my teens, I started having precognitive visions. They seem to have been brought about by meditation and trance work that I was doing at the time, but they always occurred at night, and they seemed to occur more or less when I told them to. Okay, because what I did was I did some chanting for about 10 minutes, and at the end of it, when I built myself up to a bit of a crescendo, I made a wish, and the wish was to start seeing glimpses of the future in my dreams. And it started to happen, and it freaked me out. Now, the way that I see it is that this is a symptom or a sign, so to speak, that you've already got some kind of empathic ability of your own. That's the way that I personally interpret it. And with more meditation and more meditation practice, you can learn to control it. Learn what it feels like to remember something from the past when you're in meditation. Learn what it feels like to remember something from 2 days ago, okay? And then try and change the state of mind and use that same emotion of memory, because it is an emotion, and try and remember something from the future and just see what pops into your mind. And just practice with that once in a while. Don't take it too seriously, don't strain yourself, okay? But just see what happens. This is all sort of experiential, experimental stuff. And basically I feel that this is a sign that you have some capacity to do something of a spiritualistic nature, and you'll be able to develop that with the passage of time. Okay, a YouTube user called Not the Devil Woman, who lives in Australia, who is interested in what's going to happen for this coming year. She's had a terrible year so far, the past 12 months. I want to see what's going to happen financially and with friendships as well. So let's just have a quick look and see basically what the reading's saying about that. Let's just have a quick peek, okay? Now, you're a Taurus. Let's see if there's any similarity in the signs there. I've shuffled very thoroughly, as is traditional. Let's just see what happens, okay? Okay. Well, this is really rather interesting and intriguing, okay? Your short-term future signs. come out with the Strength card, the Nine of Staves, but it's reversed. And it feels like you've had to hold yourself back for a long time, wanting to make sure that you weren't going to blurt anything else out. You've got a lot of emotional tension inside you. I feel that this is a sign of some form of release, instead of trying to hold yourself back, because I feel that the Strength card often talks about holding yourself back. You know, the Nine of Staves is talking about restriction of sorts, which is self-imposed. Sometimes it's about focus and discipline and dedication, and sometimes it's about holding back emotionally. Now, if that's reversed, what could that mean? Maybe that particular mood is going to slowly ebb away during the coming 3 months, okay? Maybe there'll still be some of the residual emotion from all of the tragedy you've been through, all of the unpleasantness. But the feelings I'm getting is that there's something happening which is going to start to give you strength and encouragement about how things could be working out in the future, just within the first 3 months from now onwards, okay? Now let's just have a quick look at your next sign for the 3 to 6 month period. Well, it's a cup sign. It's not necessarily directly related to love in this particular case, because we've got some mercurial symbols at the very top of the card. I don't think you can see that from here, maybe. Right to the top, a tiny little mercurial squiggle up there. Well, the message there is definitely that of healing, and definitely that of companionship and togetherness. The card is marked in this particular tarot deck as abundance. But essentially, is this necessarily talking about a great quantity of wealth? No, I don't think so. I feel that this is those other gifts you're talking about, the gifts of friendships being sorted out and resolved, of forgiveness, compassion, understanding and empathy coming from people who are around you, okay? And why would that be followed with a good sense of community cohesion? Now, when I look at the High Priestess card, called the Priestess in this particular tarot deck, the second of the major arcana, I think about unity, and I think about something of a holistic interconnectedness between people. Okay, so if someone's got a problem, you know, it can spread. Just on the emotional level it can spread, as well as on other different levels as well. But it's also a sign relating to harmony and peace. So it's not just a question of seeing that those rewards are there and you've recovered, you know, during the spring to summertime. But after that, you're going to feel one with your community again. And funnily enough, financial signs later on, just shortly after that, sort of the end of summer, beginning of autumn, is actually looking really rather special for you, okay? The Six of Coins is very good when it's talking about financial matters being resolved, and in fact dealing with anything that you might be achieving. Now, you might be concerned when you're thinking about financial issues, and basically, you know, there's no real signs of success and achievement coming for you straight away during your short or mid-term future. You know, basically what's happening there? You know, are you going to end up in a trough? I don't think so, because when you can actually properly enjoy the gifts of family, the gifts of friendship, that's when you're calm enough to be able to enjoy them, and you've dealt with issues of the past, and basically you're able to survive. Okay, so as far as will you reach a point within this year, within the first half of this year, from this date onwards, when things are going to start working out financially and you can survive and you can participate in society again, or possibly to a better level than you've done in the past? I think it will. It is a light out of the darkness kind of message for you, and I think that this is going to be a very beneficial year. So take it one step at a time, do the next right thing, as I often say, and I think you'll be okay. Okay, Taboo 9 is in a relationship with someone. It's been going okay. You know, there was a time when it was just friends, and then it turned into something stronger and all sorts of other things, and now there's a lot of questions as to whether it is just friendship or whether there is something else there and it is actually a relationship, and whether somebody else is involved. Big scary situation. So instead of a chronological spread, what we'll have a quick look at here is my good old-fashioned 8-card relationship reading, which I think is just the ticket here. Okay, we'll see what kind of thoughts, feelings, moods, energies and all the rest of that are going to appear for you. Just bear with me a second, please. Okay, of course I'm still using the Thoth Tarot today. I like the colours, I like the patterns, it's beautiful. Right. Well, the bond between yourself and your partner at the moment is not looking too bad. I mean, there are plenty of signs of anxiety, and I'll be honest about that. Now, if we have a look at the signs on your side of things, okay, it's seeing you as someone who is strong, determined, as is coming out there in the Prince of Wands, someone who wants to apply their willpower to try and bring out some kind of positive situation. But there's also a feeling of frustration because you're working hard to try and get the result, but basically there's something holding you back. As is coming out here, the card marked interference being, of course, the Eight of Swords. Now, sword signs can be good, they can speak of communication, they can speak of progress, but there's also this great sense of frustration, this serious sense of there's things that we can't yet discuss properly, okay? This feeling of, can we really get the progression that we're after? But let's just have a quick look at your partner's side of things and see what the message is there. Well, I would say there's some confusion. I mean, on one side of things, this is coming out in the Ten of Coins there, a sense of wealth, extra gifts they want to provide you with, a good sense of wanting to provide you with their whole self. There is something else here and slightly better, but it hasn't yet been crystallized. You know, this reading is absent of cup signs. This reading is absent of those signs pertaining to a strong, loving sense, really. Instead, it's being controlled by the energies on your partner's side of things, on Shirley's side of things, which is talking about a form of mutual agreements which is in place at the moment, but it's also dominated by strong signs of desire. So if you've only got communication signs on your side of things, what would that mean? Well, obviously it isn't just on your side of things, you've got some on Shirley's side of things too, but Shirley's side of things is like accepting that there is a feeling of there being some kind of connection there, but not really too much in the way of progress. So you're not discussing things of an important nature. You're not doing things to make the bond stronger. You're not trying to tease out the little issues which you need to work on to try and make sure that the desire can turn into a cup sign. Okay? Let's have a quick progression to short term, mid term and long term. Now, I'm not really seeing any other signs of there being another individual there, so let's just get a feeling for what's coming around the corner. Okay, the short term future, I feel this is when you're going to be taking the action. Coming out with the Eon of the Major Arcana being the 20th one there, that's talking about a sense of something of a spiritual nature between the two of you. Something which is actually going to try and hold you together if you put some work into it. So it feels very interesting that there will be the opportunity to try and make that feeling of progress actually sort of start to occur and start to manifest itself. Planning and preparation for a next stage or a deeper stage is coming shortly after that. Okay? It feels to me as if there's so many little things which need to be dealt with on a one-on-one basis, okay? The communication, how you spend your time together, that needs to change. And you've got to do something about the way in which you communicate with each other and what you communicate about. I feel those are the messages of your short and mid-term future. Very long-term future, having much more knowledge about each other, sense of completion, sense of wholeness. The Universe card often speaks about knowledge which is hard won. And if you're going through some difficulties at the moment, this is the time when you need to start putting the stress aside and start moving forward with basically more communication about the right things, okay? I can't go into this in too much detail on this video, but essentially there must come a time soon which will have to be engineered by you, in which you start changing the way in which you're having fun together, changing the way in which you're building the bond, changing the way in which you're communicating and what you're communicating about. Okay, this is a time of responsibility and hard work. Don't have to scream and shout. You can just say, okay, well, let's talk about this. Okay? And ignore the issue of that telephone, that telephone number, that telephone call, ignore it. You should be thinking about how you get on with him, and thus selling yourself to him, and making the connection nice and attractive. Okay, we got a user called Mega Grossi. Hang on a moment, didn't I do you an email reading recently? I think I did. But anyway, you're inquiring about relocation to see whether there's a possibility of that. I think we answered the marriage question in the email reading, didn't we? Okay, well, let's just have a quick look and we'll just focus in on something a little more advanced, shall we? Just a house move. Right. There are signs of movement, there's a big feeling of something dynamic, there are signs of dramatic change associated with your current situation. If I remember your situation correctly from the email reading I did with you, it was very difficult indeed, wasn't it? These signs are not coming immediately, they're coming within the next couple of months. So essentially on the basis that you carry on doing well with the work, which I think that you will, there's a good feeling of there being some kind of progression. I know you were struggling financially, you were struggling to try and keep the marriage together, but I'm seeing you making it. The adjustment card of the Major Arcana is talking about getting things in balance. It's often known as the Justice, okay? And balance and equilibrium is one of the main messages there. You've got to carry on working on your work, you've got to carry on communicating with, with your partner, and you've got to carry on keeping the bond going with your family. It's not going to be easy, but we do have more dynamic signs of movement further on down the line. So the quality of, I'm just seeing this as being lots of little stages, one by one by one by one, which you're going to have to be knocking down, a bit like shooting ducks in a shooting gallery, okay? And once you've knocked one down, then you can focus in on the next one. Do you find sometimes that you try and tackle everything at once? There's something inside you emotionally which is just making you think like, there's all these problems, I've got to try and miraculously solve them all together. They can't be. That's the reality check. You can't deal with them all. Work out which ducks you want to shoot down first, taking into account what is top priority. Of course, you've got to take into account survival, okay? That's always got to be your top priority. Because even when you're in the best marriage in the whole wide world, your survival is still one of the most important things that's out there. And if you become a burden to society, things can get difficult, as I'm sure you know. So, focusing on your survival, try and keep the other plates spinning until you make sure you've got that sorted out. Then focus in on the next thing. Try and keep the rest of the plates spinning whilst you're focusing in on that, okay? Lots of lovely circus metaphors coming out from Nick Dutch today, aren't there? Okay. But the longer term feeling is that of success. You've been through the mill, okay? You've been through the mill. But what does the mill do? It can help to purify and improve. And that's essentially something which will be coming down the corner for you, or round the corner for you, pretty soon. Hello, is that Fire Rats Molly or Fire Owl Molly? Well, anyway, you want me to do a quick Celtic cross, that's what I'll do for you, okay? There's lots of little issues you were talking about there, and I don't think I can like, totally put your entire life in direction or in perspective just with this one short video, okay? But essentially, I'll do your Celtic cross anyway, and I'll show you the signs as they come through, and we'll see what kind of thoughts, feelings, moods, energies, and all the rest of that appear for you, okay? Here we go. Alright, your carrots are in the here and now. Not too happy, are we? Five of Cups, feeling disappointed about life. You're not allowing other people to see that because you're demonstrating the other energy when you're with your family, with your friends and with other people. There's a strong sense of trying to maintain that, the facade of I'm doing okay, everything's fine, but essentially you're in a strong feeling of lack of knowledge, okay, a strong feeling of I really want to be, or I really wish to be somewhere else by now, and I want there to be a straight and narrow path. This is another reality check question, really, because in real life we don't always have a straight and narrow path. Life can get in the way. In your particular case, I think that there is going to be a bit of a change in the air. Let's have a quick look. Subconsciously, sense of loving relationship there, a sense of supportiveness. You're getting support from someone and you don't see them as being all that supportive, but essentially they are. So think of the people around you and basically who's trying to help you but basically is not quite capable of it, maybe because they don't fully understand the situation or understand where you're coming through, but they still want to be the best they can to you. Alright? I feel that these are people who could, and I think it could be more than one, who could actually be very useful for you in the future, so don't burn all your boats, okay? So be aware of that. You are a bit emotionally sensitive at the moment, so don't jump to any major conclusions about people and about life, because some of those conclusions can stick with you. And doing that right now can not necessarily be a good thing when you need to focus in on simple things bit by bit. Conscious mind, awareness of a great deal of hard work. That's the Three of Coins coming through for you. And I just show that to you again, often called works. It's got like three almost cartwheel or cogwheel shaped patterns, and I tend to regard that as the gear wheels of the universe turning, because it's talking about the fact that there are enough things around you to lever you into the right position, so to speak, okay? You just got to be aware of them. Brief reflection on the past. You've had too many changes, haven't you? Far too many. I know we got the Death Card coming out again, but I shuffled very thoroughly. But there's only 78 in a deck, you see, so essentially sometimes we get repeated signs coming through. But I feel that part of your state of instability is you don't know who you are or where you are or what you're about. And you've had so much taken away from you through so many changes and of course the process of growing up as well. And that really hasn't helped. But you're a grown up now, and now it's a question of just choosing a path. Almost any path. Okay, and trying to stick to it, but also choose one that takes into account the benefits of all the good people around you and all the good things around you. Don't forget, you are actually loved. You might not think it, but you are. Alright? Awareness of the future or anticipation of the future. Stability, financial concerns, you don't know where you're going again. And in this particular case, the main message there is that of you being a lot stronger than you think you are. Okay, and this is, although the anticipation of the future often thinks about what you're thinking about the future, the negative message is, you know, you've got the weight of your future on your mind all the time. Don't. Have the weight of the here and now and the short term and mid term in your mind, you know, the next few months maybe, okay? You don't have to think too far. You can have a long term goal, but a long term goal is not something that you're achieving today now, is it? No, it's something you'll achieve then. But at the moment, don't trip yourself up through concerns over lots of little things. Very short term future, this is the promise of the Princess of Discs coming out there, okay? That's talking about financial gain, that's talking about financial stability. Progression on from there, actually a state of happiness, alright? A bit of an extra feeling of willpower and joy, a feeling of completion, being in the right place at the right time. Unexpectedly, you're going to start to realise where that love was actually coming from. Further on down the line, within this very year, and you're going to start to really feel the supportiveness that they've been giving you, and that they will carry on giving you. Okay? Very long-term future signs. Again, very strong signs of you being an individual who's much more in control than you think you are. So this year is going to be a year of awakening, of understanding, of settling down, and of focusing for you. And I think as a result of that, you know, your concerns about, you know, where you are, where you're going to go, what's life going to be about, that's going to slowly melt away, okay? And you're going to be able to focus much more upon the things which are really important for you. And I think that's the best message for you today. So, you know, keep on track with everything you're dealing with, be it, you know, work and studies, dealing with your family, dealing with your friends, and just try and progress. Don't try and panic about everything. And if you make one mistake, but you still learn on the way, you will still have a wonderful future. And I can tell you that, because I've been through all kinds of things, because I've made a fair few mistakes as well. And some of those mistakes I dedicated myself to. But if I hadn't, I wouldn't be the man I am today. So I am grateful for some of my mistakes. Okay, Steely Tara 01, she's got a distance relationship, wants me to have a look at that, and also wants me to have a look at her guitar playing career. Let's have a quick look. Start with the 8-card relationship reading. I'll rattle through this one very quickly because I'm quite aware of the backlog I've got, okay? But on the other hand, forces between the two of you, Ace of Cups. So if it's a distance relationship and you've already got some very good signs in the forces between the two of you, what on earth is your conversation be about? Well, whatever it is, it seems to be very, very interesting and intriguing. Progression in the future on your partner's side of things, rather difficult. Okay, when things are better for you financially, start arranging meetups, do much more work over the telephone, communicating and the rest of it. Get on Skype with this individual, meet up in Second Life, for instance, and have a bit of fun around there, because there's some difficulty within this distant relationship. You've got to find more ways of building the bond and keeping it going. Alright, the signs on your side of things, I feel you're already aware that it's difficult, and I think that you want to try and get some results, and it feels rather tricky. So there's some difficulties for you in the here and now, but let's have a quick look short term, mid term and long term. Okay, if we start by looking at the colours, looking quite celebratory, quite jolly. So essentially there's some good signs there, and also a feeling of potential for the future, and overturning a sense of oppression. So essentially the feeling of being held back by the distance is not necessarily too bad, and we got repeated cup signs in the short term future. This relationship is not going to go away within the next couple of weeks or months, okay? But essentially, during this time, it's a question of trying to work out where else you could take the relationship to make sure you can keep it. Now, let's have a quick look at your guitar playing career. Okay, fascinating. Have you asked me about this before? The Sun card's coming through. This is something that you definitely enjoy in the here and now. There's some signs of wealth associated with it, and again, very strong signs of desire. So it looks like this is something which inside your heart of hearts, you know, you're seriously trying to prioritize in a very big way, and you want to try and make that the thing, okay? But now it's a question of how to do it. I feel that the way that you've been thinking about how to do it in the past is not necessarily the route that you should take, although it will be a part of the whole mix. I see you more as being someone who can learn composition and find ways of selling that. Okay, I personally am seeing you possibly doing composition for bands. I'm seeing you doing it much more for like pop style music and the rest of it, and That's quite big. The playing is going to be a very big aspect as well, but that's a very long-term career path for you to get to where you want to go. I feel that you should carry on with it. Alright? No doubt, no questions asked, carry on with it. But, alright, this is a big but. For the moment, I don't think you'll be able to survive just doing that. You've got to have something else alongside it, okay? And I think that's just something to, remember and to carry on thinking about with the passage of time, that you need something else there at the moment, but you're much more skilled composition-wise in the long term than you think. I mean, that's something to work at. Get yourself some software like MuseScore or Sibelius if you can afford it. MuseScore is free. And play about with that. See if you can come up with some sounds. And just see what you can do. Okay, Diva's Palace. You want to know about a job. Times are hard in the economy, and that means we've all got to work much harder to get work. Okay, I get quite a few inquiries from people who are basically looking for work. I don't always take them because essentially if someone's struggling for money, why should I basically take their money? But I can have a quick look for you to see basically what's happening for you as far as a new job is coming along. Okay, let's have a quick look. This is quite a magical reading. Why is it quite a magical reading? Because you're after a new beginning. You're after something new starting for you very soon. We have the Magician card. You might think to yourself, what is so important about the Magician card? Well, it's the first of the major arcana. This is the one that says you've been through your stress, your struggles and your strains. You've been through it all. It shaped some parts of your character in a very positive way, but now you've finished your studying and now it's time to get on with the job. It's saying there's something new coming your way. It is in the short-term future part of the reading. That means that within 3 months at the outside, you're going to get something which is going to work for you and is going to feel quite good. That's the way that I'm interpreting it, because the energy there is that of boom. It's out there. But wait a second. Sometimes people ask me, am I going to get a job? Am I going to get a job? Am I going to get a job? And the moment I say yes, they stop getting their CV or resume out the door. Don't be like that. Treat the message of the Magician as being a big kick up your backside to be able to say it's out there. And you're the person who's got to get that work because you've got the ability, you've got the knowledge, you've got the skill, you've got everything going for you. And you're the one who's going to make it. Try and avoid agency applications. I mean, obviously if you're in an industry which relies very heavily upon agency work, then basically you've got to carry on using the agencies. But essentially, try and avoid agencies if you can. And do direct applications, try and do 3 or 4 a day minimum, and try and keep it going at 7 days a week. I know it's a pain in the backside, but on the other hand, you still got to do it. Alright? The message of the Magician is very strong for you. The message of the Universe card talking about not only completion and wholeness, but having to apply your knowledge and your wisdom when you're actually in the job itself is very good and very strong as well. Why would that be coming through? Because the whole career will not stop with the next job. The next job is a very important part of where you're going to go, but that's not where it stops. So you can pick up something quite basic just to keep yourself going. And then, hey presto, that's going to prove something to someone, or you're going to pick something up there which is going to help you along. Remember, this is often talking about learning through going through hard times. So this has got a past and a future message. But the future message is not hard times because you'll be poor, but it's hard times because you'll be doing okay in the workplace and learning new things. The brain will be being stimulated and you'll be changing and growing. That's why it's going to be hard times in the future. That's the way in which it's going to be hard times in the future, which aren't hard times, they're good times. Okay, and I can tell you it's good because the other signs for the future are talking about passion, willpower, intelligence, determination. Alright, and being someone who's going to reach a level of control and wisdom throughout the whole of the rest of your life. You're going to be respected for something. I know it. Okay, purity for all. You're having a lot of financial problems and you're hoping I could help. Another, message here from, I suppose, the Street of Hard Knocks. It's where we all are. I'm struggling. People, a lot of my customers are struggling. A lot of the people in my city are struggling. This is very common. Now, if it's a debt problem and you live in the United Kingdom, go to the Citizens Advice Bureau. If you live in the United States of America, maybe there'll be a government office that will be able to help you and to advise you as to how to manage it if it's a debt problem. Okay? If it's just a question of not enough coming in, then basically I'll have a quick look and see whether things are going to improve for you, full stop, okay? But in the meantime, this is a time of action. When things are bad, this is when you've got to act more, and you've got to act harder than you've ever done before. Let's have a quick look. Just a second, please. Alright, very interesting message coming through here. Slight feeling of frustration about the here and now. We got the Devil card, but the Devil card came through reversed. Now, why would that be? Well, the Devil card is speaking about, it can speak about a strong quantity of desire. You want to get these problems sorted out. But on the other hand, when it's reversed, it is talking about a solution, and it can speak about freedom from bondage, freedom from being tied down or held back. Alright, and not being in a state of slavery anymore. Do you feel at the moment you're in a bit of a state of slavery? Let's expand the reading a little further and see what else is coming through. So, for your midterm future signs, which is not immediately, maybe a few months down the line, there's a sense of healing. There's a sense of forgiveness. The Eight of Staves has a rainbow at the top. And the rainbow comes from biblical mythology, saying that whatever hardship you've been through, it's going to come to an end, and it's not going to be repeated. Okay? It's a sign of forgiveness, and it's a promise that this is the worst that things can get, and that things are going to improve from now on, and it's not going to happen again. Good financial signs coming through with the Three of Coins there. I'm very pleased with that. Okay, obviously it's a financial reading, and I think this is describing the process. Okay, having the problems, getting over the problems, as was spoken of in the Devil card. A sense of healing and repair work and forgiveness and repentance coming through with the Eight of Staves, and then something for beneficial financial nature coming through with the Three of Coins. Also, there's something interesting about both the Eight of Staves and the Three of Coins. They both have prismic imagery. Prisms break down something, namely light, into its constituent parts, and it's a message to take all of these problems and to try and break them down into their constituent parts and try to understand them all, work out, why they developed, and work out how you can solve the problem. And that's part of where you are at the moment and where you will be going through to try and solve the issues, okay? There is a light at the end of the tunnel. But the light at the end of the tunnel has to work through analysis and finding the right organisations to work with to be able to solve the problem. That's essentially what I'm seeing there, and that's the main message of the reading. Okay, Baby Cake Sweet as Sin has got a new friend. Nice little friend. I want to see how it's going to go. So let's have a quick look. Just bear with me a second. Standard 8 card relationship reading. We've had a fair few today, haven't we? We've had 4 card spreads to look at like a period of approximately a year. We've had the Celtic Cross. We're doing the 8 card relationship reading again. Alright. Okay. Not looking too bad, quite friendly, quite positive, okay, not necessarily connecting 100% yet, but you're still building it up and working on it. Signs on their side of things, been a few difficulties, a bit of a sense of defeat in the past, struggling with a few issues. Be careful, okay, because essentially you want to get involved, but you want to get involved with someone who's basically the right stage and the right state of being, basically. So give it a bit of time for him to start sorting out his problems and seeing how far it can go. Communication signs are abundance on his side of things, good strong stave signs there, and stave signs in the force between the two of you. Both stave and sword signs can be referring to communication, okay, depending upon which symbolical structure you're using, and there's many different ones out there, and it depends on how I'm feeling it and how I'm understanding it. But it's also the way in which it communicates, the variety of communication, and in this particular case, overcoming obstacles, okay, and a feeling of freedom and tranquility. But don't let that blind you from the way that things really are and the things which are discussed during your conversation. Signs of things on your side of things, heavily romantic as you can see, and also a sense of the right things have got to basically come through this time. Well, I would take it slow. Don't rush on this one. It's looking quite nice, but don't rush. Okay? Progression, short term, passion. Mid-term, potentially very romantic in a few months' time down the line from now, depending upon how your short-term future goes, because passion can lead you in different, lots of different ways. There's different types of passion, if you get my drift. But there is potential for togetherness further on down the line. But I would say just think more carefully about what is said, the way it's said, and what that really means, okay? Don't jump to conclusions, just take it one step at a time. Hamianal Baba, is that the right pronunciation? Okay, so you've got family issues, you've got career issues and wants to know where you're headed, and you're thinking about your exams as well. Let's have a quick look. Let's focus in on the exams first and foremost, see what's coming through there. Okay, stability, you're a solid person, you've been studying solidly, and it looks like if you carry on doing that, you're going to get through. No signs of failure there, more signs of strength and power and ability, really, because earth signs often deal with hard work, okay? The mythological spirits of the earth signs, and therefore the suit of discs, is the gnomes. Now, I'm not talking about little cute things with like the red hats and the fishing rods, okay? Because the real gnomes of folklore were basically small creatures that would work really, really hard and would till the fields and would mine, go and get the ores from the mine. These would be hard-working spiritual energies, and that's one of the messages or the meanings of the gnome. Salt of the earth, hard-working, and that's the kind of attitude you need to have at the moment. But there's some good signs of you being in control and actually controlling any of the problems you've got on the way. So essentially, as far as the exam's concerned, yeah, you'll be doing okay. Now, on the basis of that will be the foundation for something else. Okay, so your life will move in the right direction, but you're still going to start from the here and now onwards to try and get there. As far as your family issues are concerned, great feeling of arguments, disagreements, and a sense of there being some anxiety and worries about that. But also, this is a time when some difficulties, I feel, are going to be put to the side, and basically, as a family unit, you can start to move further forward actually and do much better for yourself. We got some interesting signs there for you. The worry and anxiety, I feel that will pass quite quickly. 5 of coins there. Some of the issues seem to be revolving around financial matters, as if that one particular issue or a particular issue is being used as an excuse for lots of other issues, okay? So there is learning happening here. There you go. 6 of Swords there. I always consider it to be planning and preparation, because it's talking about using sort of almost scientific thought to deal with life problems. And as a result of that, there will be something good happening as a result of all the bad stuff that's going on at the moment, basically. It does look like you are going to be a peacemaker to a certain degree, but not necessarily through too much effort, but just being there, being serene, and saying the right thing at the right time just to set people straight, okay? And yeah, there is a feeling of moving forward as a collective in the future, okay? So it doesn't actually look too bad, basically. Okay, well, that's all the tarot readings we're going to be doing today. We've had quite a variety today, haven't we? We've had a bit of a discussion about precognitive visions and dreams. We've had, Celtic cross spread. We've had the 8-card relationship reading. We've had the other spreads coming through as well. So essentially, it's been a bit of a combination today, and I'm sure there'll be many other combinations that we can, create or creatively use to tackle, the life issues and problems that you yourselves have got out there. Obviously, if you want your request to appear here in the Nick Dutch Tarot Show, as I sometimes call it, here on the Nick Dutch Tarot channel, then send it through by private message, not in the comment section. You can leave a comment by all means, but don't leave a request in the comment section, not by video response, okay? Send it through by private message, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Watch out for any of the extra blogs from Keen coming through on this particular YouTube channel. So make friends with this YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Always remember that a tarot reading is legally regarded as an entertainment service for obvious, very good, commonsensical reasons, okay? This can be like that moment in your life when you just sit back and just get away from the stresses of the day, or, whatever, and just think about your life in a different way, in a different light. But you're the final decision maker in your life, not me. I can just provide a point of view or a perspective. Okay? So, for the moment, I'll bid you good fortune. God bless. All of you look after yourself. Keep your requests coming through. I know I've got a bit of a backlog to go through, but essentially that's a good thing, so it keeps the show running, basically. And I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon. Bye for now.